We made it to Jamaica. All right, guys, so I'm taking you with me on our vacation. Today's Friday when I'm filming this, and we got in yesterday. I'm excited. Today is our first full day here, so I'll keep you posted with what we have planned. In this video, I'm just gonna check in a few times with anything that I think would be pertinent. You guys know this channel is all about living a life of no food rules and having a healthy relationship with food and body. So we are going to just kind of check in a couple times. There's already a couple things that I want to chat with you guys about. So I'm going to cool off a little bit and then I'll catch up with you in a minute. All right, guys, so there's an orientation tour going on. Oh, wait. Okay, so like I said, we got in yesterday and we really just kind of walked around, got some drinks, we got food, we were starving at that point, and then swam, we really just kind of moseyed. So anytime I talk about what I'm eating, it's always less about what I'm eating and why I'm eating it. I have a resource for you guys, free downloadable, that talks about the 5 questions that I ask myself before making any food choice. So if you haven't snagged that, be sure to do so. I'll link it here, super helpful. One thing I was reminded of yesterday is don't let yourself get too hungry if you can avoid it, because I was famished by the time that we got here, and it was very hard to honor fullness because you just like want to stuff everything in your face.
Good morning.
Hello. Good. How are you?
Nothing at this moment.
I'm okay, thank you though. Anywho, so that is one thing to remember, but it's gonna happen, right? It's gonna happen. The second thing is that I actually had to I ordered food. The portions were very small and I had to ask for more. If you're honor what you need, right? The portion sizes, sometimes they're more than we need, sometimes they're not enough, and sometimes you just gotta ask for more food, so I definitely did that. But then today we went to breakfast, and breakfast at an all-inclusive, you can go to like restaurants, but there's usually like a buffet, and we like to do that in the morning. So we went to the buffet today, and the buffets can be overwhelming, you guys, because there's so many different things. I mean, there's everything, right? And it's so easy to kind of be overwhelmed and get carried away by all of the excitement. Like, you want everything. And one thing I like to think about when I go to buffets in general is, what am I actually wanting in the moment, and what can I also like not get at home? Things like smoked salmon and whatnot, that's something like, okay, I can go to the store and buy that. So I personally like to think about, what don't I get access to all the time? Because the reality is we only have so much room in our tummies, right? So just keeping that in mind can be super helpful. I also like to really think in terms of like, specifically this morning with breakfast, of how is this going to make me feel for the rest of the day? Because like in the moment you may be like, yes, I want all of these things, and you can eat those, and this goes into that download that I talked about. This is one of the things I think about, is like, how is this going to make me feel? So I could have had anything and everything, but I also knew that like, if I eat so much in the morning, I'm not going to be hungry later in the day, and that's kind of a bummer when I want to try other food. I also know I don't want to have like such a big full tummy ache when I'm sitting down relaxing right now. So there's so many different things to think about, but those are a couple of things that I think about when I'm like navigating the buffet situation, which was phenomenal. You guys, we had the best view. Like, it was unreal. When we were eating breakfast, we had the best view. It was like quite literally picture perfect. So I don't really know what today has in store. We're going to relax for a little bit. Yeah, I'll check back with you soon. Why is this so humid? Is that better? My gosh, not only is my hair, I am Monica Geller from Friends, you guys. My hair, I've given up trying to do anything with it here. It's just giant. And I'm not usually an iced coffee girly, but I grabbed one this morning and it's delicious. Like, how do people film anything here? My camera is getting foggy just from literally the humidity. I hope it doesn't, I think it's fine. So this morning we went to the gymnasium. The gym here is really nice. You look a little tilted. Let me try to fix that. The gym here is really nice, and when it comes to working out on vacation or not working out on vacation, there is no right or wrong. What matters more is why you're doing it. So for me this morning, we are early risers, both me and my husband. And like, if we sleep past 6 a.m., that's like sleeping in. That's just my body's clock. And so for us, like this morning going to the gym, did a little run, is a lot of like, it's kind of something to do, and it's an activity to do in the morning. Otherwise, I'm literally just going to, what else am I going to do? Scroll on my phone? Because it's not like there's much to do from like 6 to 8 a.m. So went there, did that. It's also, I ran because I was like looking forward throughout the day. I was like, I'm going to get restless. I'm a person who has a lot of energy, if you haven't noticed. And I was like, I'm literally going to get restless if I'm sitting by the pool until 2 p.m. Like at 2 p.m., I would be like, okay, I need to get up and move. So it just kind of like sets me up for the day to be able to relax more, not from the stance of, okay, now I feel like I've earned relaxing, right? From like a physical energy standpoint. But then there's also, it helps with digestion. So that is also one thing I think about when I'm traveling. And that was something you guys had asked me to talk about too, was like travel constipation. And it is real. And moving your body can be something. I noticed my digestion wasn't the greatest on our travel day. There's a lot of things. I get a lot of stress, stomach aches, and indigestion from that. And then also sitting, like movement can help with digestion. So there's so many. Notice how I haven't said anything about like earning your food. That's a sign that you need to improve your relationship with movement. But focusing on those benefits of why you're doing it is key. You have permission to move on vacation. You have permission to not move on vacation. You can move some days. You can move not on other days. Like there is no right or wrong. What matters as always is why you are doing it. So now we are going to, this whole trip, you guys, is, I hope it's not boring, is just a lot of, we're not doing like any excursions or anything like that. It's truly just sitting around and relaxing. So we're gonna go get to it, get some breakfast. We did have some snacks before we went to the gym in the morning. I'm someone who I have to eat before I work out. So we had some stuff in the room, and then we're just gonna get on with our day. But that's what we did this morning. I was like one of those people, you know how like on TikTok and I feel like Reels, wherever you consume your short form content, YouTube Shorts, whatever. Well, shouldn't say they're all the same, but they're all the same. When people say like, that noise. Like I said, not usually an iced coffee girly, but I'm here for it. Okay, I'm going to try to contain my hair and let's do it. One thing that I've noticed here is it is so windy in the afternoons. I'm trying to like get close enough to the mic to where I'm not like in your face. It starts off super warm and not windy, and then it gets cooler earlier than like what I'm used to in like the summer in Michigan, and it gets really windy towards the afternoon. So I'm really hoping I don't have to scrap this clip when I get home and actually listen to it. One thing that there's a couple things that popped up that I wanted to talk about. So one of the first things is that I've noticed, it's so true that what you have access to, you're more likely to do. So one thing that I've noticed is that I tend to eat more seafood and vegetables here than I typically do at home. And I think it's just, they're prepared, they're accessible, right? So even though it's such like common advice to be like, cut some veggies so they're easily in the fridge and you'll, be more likely to eat them, or same thing with fruit, it's so freaking true. But also, it can go for the opposite. I've drank so many of these Coke Zeros. Coke Zero is delicious, you guys. And I have also noticed that I have not felt as hydrated when I'm drinking these, so I need to remind myself that, again, it's always not just what sounds good, it's also how is this going to make my body feel. And all these don't make my body feel as hydrated as when I drink some water with my flavor packets, because we all know Colleen hates plain water. So that was one thing I wanted to chat about. The next thing I want to chat about is alcohol. So when it comes to drinking intuitively, I really talk about it and approach it the same way that I do eating. It's a dynamic process of deciding what, how much, when to drink, how is it going to make my body feel, why am I drinking it? Is it pressure from someone else? Is it because you want to? Is it because you're trying to escape and not feel your fit? Alcohol there's so many reasons that we drink it. So thinking about the why behind it from that way, but then also thinking about how it's going to make my body feel, both from how is it going to make me feel like tipsy wise? Like, is this one going to put me over the edge? Am I going to have a hangover the next day? But then also, how is it going to make my body feel from the drink itself standpoint? So as I'm navigating drinking throughout the day, I'm thinking about, again, okay, I am not someone who likes to feel tipsy, so that's something that I think about, like, how many have I had? But then also, how is a specific drink that I'm wanting going to make my body feel? For example, sugary drinks are going to make my body feel much more like full. They're more filling than like a mojito or something lighter. And I know that also having a lot of sugary drinks is probably going to get me like super sugar buzz, and then I'm going to come crashing down and feel tired. So those are all things that I think about in terms of alcohol throughout the day. If you haven't downloaded that guide that I have where it talks about all the 5 questions I ask every time I make a food choice, definitely do, because it all applies here too. It's not that I think about like, okay, what's the least sugary drink and try to pick that. It's more of, okay, if I can have the sugary drink if I want, how is that going to make my body feel? How is having a lot of those going to make my body feel? And just thinking more dynamically about it. One thing that you guys asked me on Instagram when I was asking you, what do you want me to talk about, was what do I do when drinking alcohol gives me the munchies? Drinking alcohol is going to lower your inhibitions. It just is, right? But the thing is, if you are also restricting or dieting, your pull to eat a lot of food at that time is going to be so much more. So it's really important to make sure that you're not restricting, make sure that you're not having food rules, because at that point you're going to have kind of the what the hell effect where you're like, what the hell, I'm already drinking. I've already eaten something, likely something greasy, maybe something that you thought was bad. So just what the hell, I'm going to keep drinking it. So don't restrict when you're drinking. You're just going to want it more. And that's why dieting, when we drink, it's like, oh my gosh. And then it just enters you into the restrict binge cycle, right? So yeah, we are currently sitting on the beach. I'm going to get my book out and do a little reading. I think I told you I'm reading The Hunting Wives, but yeah. You guys, it is beyond gorgeous here. This is the prettiest beach that we have been to. I just keep looking out at the water and I'm like, that is just absolutely gorgeous. It is our last full day here. It's been a good trip so far. I'm sad to leave, although we didn't plan any excursion, so it's kind of just been us 3 full days of just lying around. I'm not gonna lie, I'm ready to get back to the usual. If we had other things to do, I think it'd be a different story. But I'm ready. So technically we did 3 full days and then 2 kind of half days. We're leaving tomorrow. To me, that's a good relaxing trip. But today it started off rainy, then it luckily went away, and then we hung by the pool. So what we're gonna do a little rapid fire Q&A kind of thing. I asked you guys on Instagram just some questions that you wanted me to cover, and we've covered some of them. I hope this isn't too windy. We've covered some of them, but I gotta go get that my case. Okay, I really hope this isn't too windy. We're gonna have to move because I don't have Wi-Fi. Let's see if it's strong enough. The Wi-Fi here is very, very spotty. We'll see if this connects, otherwise we might have to move. No, we're gonna move to a place that's a little less windy. I think it's gonna be windy everywhere. Nah, we're gonna move to a place that's a little less windy. Hold the phone. Okay, we're in this little cocoony thing. I think it should be better. Orange is not my color, you guys. Orange is not my color. But like I said, we're gonna do a little rapid fire Q&A here. So let me pop those open and find them. Okay, one question you guys asked about is time zone changes impacting on hunger. And it's funny because when we came on this vacation, it was just daylight savings time. So I already felt a little bit of time change that impacted my hunger earlier in the week. We didn't have a time change when we came to Jamaica, but that is something. And moral of all the questions here is that when you learn to pay attention to your body, all of these things get easier, whether it's time changes, whether it's another question that you guys had was like what to do with like rich foods. And it's funny because last night we went to a French restaurant and it was very, very rich. It was very, very buttery, delicious. And the more that you can tune into your body and how different foods are going to make you feel, the easier all of this stuff gets to be able to trust your body, whether it's with time changes, whether it's with the rich foods. I will say on the question of like, what do you do when like all of the foods are much more rich, is that knowing information or like caloric density, not that I think you need to know like the calories of something, but knowing that something is going to be much more nutrient dense, it's going to provide your body more energy. You might not feel in the moment, but you're going to feel full after you eat it. Does that make sense, you guys? It's almost doing like what I call forward thinking and thinking through how some of those things are going to make your body feel, not necessarily in that moment, but sometimes the more rich, dense things, they take a little bit of time for your body to kind of like catch up to it. So it was something that I encountered, like I said, last night. We had very buttery, rich, delicious food. And then also earlier today, and like I said, you don't need to know what's the nutrition information of what I'm ordering, but just general things. And that's interesting too. I was thinking yesterday about the French paradox, about how this is a common thing that people talk about. People in France, they have all this rich food, but they tend to be slimmer. There's a whole topic of conversation, but that's essentially what the French paradox means. That they eat these delicious foods, but they tend to be slimmer. And like, how is that, right? And it's just when you take the time to savor rich, delicious foods, you a lot of times can notice satisfaction earlier than just not being as mindful, but then also not having as delicious of food or satisfying of food. It's just interesting. That's a whole other topic of conversation that we could get into. Bathing suits, comparing your body to others in that kind of setting. We have in the society a lot of resources, but one of the most popular ones, if you're a member, if you're not, I will link below, you can become a member and get access, is our Bad Body Image Day workshop from Vinnie Wellsby. Fabulous. It's a member favorite. So I was, as you guys were talking in Instagram stories, I was linking that for you guys. Here's the way that I view it. You have two options. You can sit here and let your body image take away from your experience, your trip, right? Or you can decide, maybe I don't love the way that my body looks, or I don't love the way that I had this happen with one of my newer suits that I got. I was like, I don't feel as confident in my pink one shoulder one that I was wearing as I do in this blue one. But I was like, you know what? When I got wet, it like clung to me and I was like, I don't like the way this is sitting. But I was like, what are my options? To sit here and try to hide my body, or to just go about my day? No one else is looking at me. No one else is caring as much as you think. They're worried about themselves, right? So you have two options. You can look back on your trip and be like, I was so self-conscious. Or you can look back and be like, I wasn't sucking in my stomach, because we all know that's going to cause a gas bubble. There's a lot of self-talk that goes on, and literally giving yourself pep talks is probably like one of my biggest things. Someone said wanting to eat more since it feels like special occasions or treats like desserts. And I think this goes back into, I have a whole video on food FOMO. I will link that for you guys. That's going to be a really good one. It's not now or never. You can have amazing food again in some way. A lot of times, I'll be honest, the things that we're drawn to, like the desserts and stuff, you can probably get again somewhere else, right? So they have this like wall of desserts every day. And what I did was remind myself, like, I can have chocolate cake at home. So for me, it's really like, you can likely have this food again in some capacity. You can look up a recipe if it's like a special one that like maybe you don't have access to a lot. Another thing I will do is take pictures. I talk about this a lot more in my food FOMO. I'm just going to link that video for you because I don't want this video to get like super, super long. Constipation. Let's talk about that one, you guys. Whenever we talked about a little bit when I talked about movement earlier, but it's probably going to happen, right? For me, I know it's going to happen, so I bring stool softeners. Also, make sure that you stay hydrated. But a lot of times we're traveling or we are eating different foods, your gut is going to be impacted. So yes, there's things that you can do to minimize it, but for me, honestly, I expect that it's going to happen. And things like drinking alcohol, not having a lot of fiber, those things can all impact it. So like I said, for me, it's how can I manage it? And a lot of times it's water and honestly stool softeners. It's going to happen. Another hunger signals off for the time change. You got to honor your hunger. You got to honor your hunger. It's tough because you do want to, and this is something that we have done here too, is you have to kind of plan your day depending on, like, we had to make dinner reservations, right? So you have to kind of think about, like, earlier in the day, how hungry do I want to be at dinner? And you just do your best. You just do your best. Sometimes you're not going to be perfectly hungry for dinner. There's been some times where that's happened to me. I'm like, I could be a little bit hungrier, but that's when your reservation is. And that's where it's key to remember, you don't have to eat a certain amount. You get to decide in the moment. And yeah, sometimes it's a bummer when we want to be hungrier, but we're not. But that, again, that doesn't mean you can't eat, but it is tuning into your body, the dynamic process that I make every single time I make a food choice of, okay, what do I want? How can I find compromise? That's what it is, between allowing myself to have this experience and being able to still feel physically well. It's such a dynamic process, you guys. Earlier when I had got the Purple Rain drink, I was like, that was delicious. I could drink another one. But I thought to myself, I was like, but I'm not going to get another one because I know I want to be hungry for lunch. So I was like, I'll save another frozen drink until later so that I'm hungry for lunch. And I don't want this to sound like so overly complicated, because it's really not. Like, all of this stuff, I always like to remind you guys, all of this stuff happens automatically for me. I don't have to think about it anymore. It's just how my brain works. And that's my goal, is to help you get there too, where all of the stuff that I spend time explaining to you guys starts to become second nature, and you don't have to think about it as hard. It is going to take more effort up front at first, but the more that you learn this stuff, the more that you keep watching my channel, you join the society, you learn how step by step, it's going to become as easy as it is for you guys. So I always just like to remind you guys that as I'm talking through all this stuff, it's all happening on autopilot for me, right? Download that 5-question guide that I ask myself every time. I'll link it again in the description for you. It's going to be super helpful. Go through that process. You'll start to get it every time, and it'll be automatic for you too. So I'm going to go back and find my husband, because I kind of just left it. I was like, hey, I'm going to go film a video clip. So, oh, gosh, guys, it is gorgeous here. It is gorgeous. I don't know if I said this. We're staying at the Hyatt in Montego Bay. It's good. I'm going to be honest with you guys, though. My favorite place that we've stayed, I don't want to say this too loudly, is Moon Palace. Moon Palace. In Cancun. Blew me out of the water. But this is very nice. This is very nice, too. I don't know if I should say that, but I'm just going to be honest with you guys. So it's very nice. So I don't want to make it sound like it was bad. So thank you for coming along on this trip with me, you guys. I hope you maybe learned a thing or two, as always, or just got a little entertainment, maybe, or just some fun. So thank you for tuning in. If you guys did like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. I would like your feedback. Let me know in the comments, do you like these? Because sometimes I wonder, I'm like, to be completely honest with you, I'm like, I don't know what the point is for these videos. Like, are they entertaining to other people? Or are you just like, I don't really want to see you just on vacation, Colleen? But let me know. I would love any feedback, because I enjoy bringing you guys along, because it's also nice for me to look back on our vacation. So if there's anything you'd like to see differently in these videos, let me know in the comments, please. I would love to hear. But with that, like I said, I'm going to get back to it. Finish my book, hopefully. And I will see you guys in the next video. Like, subscribe if I can get my sunglasses on. I'm going to break these sunglasses. All of the things. Okay, this is Colleen at the end of every single video she shoots. She just can't shut up. So I will see you later.